There's been a request to make sure that you speak into your mic.
It's a valid
I'm a
request.
very concerned abutter, or a very concerned city resident,
Very concerned about what?
not being able to hear you.
Okay, I know I have a soft voice, I guess.
You mumble a lot, too.
I do mumble all my life, but I think, it'd be nice if these cords were longer.
I
That's
think
right,
we're
I'm
working on new microphones.
I think they, that's very
Okay.
true.
I think the council is
Okay,
working
it's,
to replace
it's, six,
the clock.
6:34, 6:35 now. We'll start tonight's, meeting of the Laconia Planning Board. And we'll ask Savannah to take the roll.
In attendance tonight, we have Gary Dion, Brian Wolf, Dave Ouellette, Rich McNeil, Councilor Bruce Cheney, Mike Dellavecchia, Chairman Charlie St. Clair, Planning Director Rob Mora, Assistant Planner Tyler Carmichael, and I'm Savannah Brunello, Recording Secretary.
Thank you. I'll look for a motion to accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
So moved.
Okay, a second? All in favor, raise your hands. It's you, Mike?
I wasn't here, so.
Okay, so 5 in favor and 1 abstention. Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to begin with continued public hearings. And we'll start with 6.1, the zoning ordinance amendment 235-41, residential accessory uses. This is a proposed rewrite of the short-term lodging ordinance to provide clearer permitting and special exception process. Should we don't need to accept this, no, that's, and do we want to, just open it up to you and have the public hearing after?
You just want to open it for public hearing?
Do you want to do that first?
You
Okay.
can do that first.
All right, so we'll open up a public hearing at 6:36. Is there anybody in the public here tonight that would like to speak to the short-term rental rewrite? Potentially. I keep forgetting that clock. Okay, seeing nobody, we'll close the public hearing at 6:36. So, Rob, I'll let you take the lead on this.
So we did propose rewriting the short-term lodging ordinance. We discussed that with our legal counsel, and it was agreed that we should remove the permit for the short-term lodging. It would just be a special exception for every zoning district with the exception of commercial resort and shorefront residential. With that, we did add in that it needed to be their primary
Well, you said commercial,
commercial resort and shorefront residential.
you
Yep.
said
So-
short-term rental, and
Oh, so short-term lodging, it would be permitted in the shorefront residential by right and commercial resort. In every other zoning district, it would be permitted by a special exception. With that, we did add language in there that, following our zoning ordinance, that would be, have to be the person's primary residence. So they would have to live there 200 days a year. And they would have to provide documentation that it was their primary residence, such as a utility bill.
120 days.
It's 200 days, according to we adopted updated language for our primary residence a few months ago when we updated ADUs. And in that definition, we required them, if it was somebody's primary residence, they had to lived there 200 days a year and provide us a copy of a utility bill or driver's license showing that it was their actual residence. With that, we've had discussion with legal counsel, and we've had some feedback from planning board members. Tyler, do you want to go over a couple of those changes that you?
Certainly.
Can I just ask one question? On primary residence, is it okay to be a second residency? So if we have a house in another part of the state or even out of state, can that?
I'll read you exactly what our definition says for the primary residence.
Used to be 150. Used to be 150 days a year.
The place of abode, a domicile that is designated by a person as their principal place of physical presence to the exclusion of all others for at least 200 days annually. For the purposes of this chapter, such designation can be determined by providing the planning department with 2 or more of the following documents: valid New Hampshire driver's license, valid New Hampshire identification card, a valid U.S. passport, valid vehicle registration, or proof of payment for utilities at the property for which primary residence is being claimed.
I just wonder about if, if like, I go to Florida for the winter, maybe my house is down there. So my residence is in Florida, or I live in Florida, as far as my residency. I vote in Florida, but I also bought a house up here in New Hampshire, which is my residency all summer long, perhaps from May through October. Enough to cover those days anyway. Would that preclude them from owning this house and renting it out the rest of the time?
Yeah, that wouldn't be enough, that wouldn't give them enough days.
They wouldn't have enough days in it. Okay.
It used to be 150 days a year. When did we change to 200?
We added the definition of primary residence when we updated accessory dwelling units. We didn't change short-term lodging. This is now when we're coming up to change short-term
I
lodging.
think you're confusing it with the number of days of rentals versus the number of days in which they live there. So the number of days of rent, that somebody can rent out their house is 120
Well,
days.
There is a section in there where it said it had to be there, they had to live there so many days in the.
Right, in the new one, though, it doesn't.
In the new one, it doesn't talk about that. It's just, we reference back to the definition.
So if I wanted to buy a house and put apartments in there, and it's listed as an apartment house, that'll have nothing to do with this, right? Okay, just for clarification on that, okay.
Did you want to read those in?
Sure. So after discussing with legal counsel, we basically said that we're going to include the requirements of 3C, 3D, and 3E, which is in the proposed language. We're going to make that a requirement that they have to write this into their contract, their short-term lodging contract, so that way they are basically acknowledging that they understand these rules apply. With that, we're also going to require that rooms and meals tax permit that they get from the state has to be provided to the planning department as well. And then we're also going to include that as a requirement as part of the special exception. So all these requirements, that performance standards basically that we're putting on this use, is going to be a requirement for them to get their special exception. So when they come before zoning board, they have to have their ducks in a row before zoning board can approve it. And then we're also going to include in there to make sure that their contracts say no signage as well, to make sure that they acknowledge there shouldn't be any signage there, advertising it as a short-term lodging unit. I think that's pretty much it. So, unless I'm forgetting something. I don't think I am, though.
Tyler, just one more question. So
Yeah.
on the, putting it in the contract, so if we put in the D is the maximum number of persons per bedroom and in total, E is the number of vehicles permitted per short-term lodging unit, limited to driveway capacity, no off-street parking. Is there any reason we would not, if this is in a contract, we're trying to get the renter, the person renting the property, who's gonna stay there during the rental, is there any reason we would not also reference, if noise has been a problem with these in the past, the noise regulation we already have? So that the point being that the person signing a contract saying, I want to rent this property, is aware of parking, maximum number of occupants, the noise regulation, which tend to be the biggest issues in these. Anybody object?
Not at all.
No, I think that's fair.
So are we talking about adding that in under section 3?
Yeah, make it section G under section 3.
3, that'd be 3G.
Change it. What's the deal? Ask him. What's your
Okay,
opinion?
we can make sure that's included in there as well.
Hi. I think what he's saying is when we're,
Can you just say who you are?
sorry, Laura Spector Morgan, one of the city's attorneys. I think what Member Wolf is suggesting is that when we talk about the provisions that need to be included in the contract, perhaps we also include the provisions in,
Oh, for the noise ordinance under
yes,
that. Okay.
yes.
Yep.
Is
All right.
that what you were referencing?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Laura. Okay.
Yep, I gotcha.
Mike, you wanted to ask something?
When did we go from 150 to 200? I'm confused.
We didn't. We added the definition. The current short-term lodging ordinance does not reference back to that.
That's just this. That's a year old right there. I circled the hot
That
spot.
worked out good, sorry. What do you had circled there?
Right, so now we're saying it's 200.
We're voted on that tonight? Or that's done?
No, so we're referencing back to the definition that we have adopted in our zoning ordinance as a primary residence. And that definition says 200 days a year.
I think the council
And
voted on that.
That's what council wanted
Yeah.
when we went forward, when we did
Okay.
ADUs. So that's why it is 200 days.
Okay, any other questions? So, we're gonna vote on this now, or we're just gonna
No,
push it off? We're gonna
so,
push it off to next month?
since
and have
we've
another
made
public hearing?
significant changes to what the language was, we will have to renotice for another additional public hearing. If you want to request that to be scheduled for next month at
Let's do that, July.
July 1st meeting.
Yeah, let's do that, and, because there's nobody here tonight, but, you know, the last couple of times he's been here, we've had several
We had a
people
couple,
come here.
people last time, so this will
Yeah.
give us another opportunity to notice to the paper. We'll put it in the news links, and we'll post it on the website as well, so that we can get maximum visibility for people to come in.
It seems like people read letters to the editor more than anything else. Maybe we should just put something as a letter to the editor, and, oh, by the way, at the next planning board meeting, just so you know. I'm telling you, it just seems, as sad as it is, it just seems to be
It gets a
just
lot
something
of,
to think about.
Charlie St. Clair?
Yeah, Charlie's gonna write that
Oh, yeah,
letter.
I don't write letters to the editor as a usual policy, but it's just something to think about. Okay. All right, so we're done.
I think if you could just have the board do a motion to
Oh, to-
act in that direction.
Yeah, let's have a motion to have a public hearing and move this to the next, the July 1st meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, second? Thank you both. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. It's unanimous, 6 in favor. Okay, thank you. All right, so,
Thank you, Laura.
thank you very much. I'd like, with the indulgence of the board, to make a change on the agenda and move 7.3 right now, have that right now before 7. Any problems with that? Any questions?
No objection.
Do we need to make a motion on that? Okay, so be that. So is there somebody here? 7.3 is
Pump station.
PB 2025-062, 547 White Oaks Road. The applicant is proposing to build a sewer pump station.
That is correct. Hi, my name is Nate Jarrett. I'm the Assistant Director of Public Works here in Laconia. We have a public-private partnership project happening on White Oaks with Lady Lakes and Paucus Woods, and also the site where the new solar establishment would be on White Oaks Road. This pump station has various easements. It's alongside the road. It's going to be collecting sewage from basically north of Sarasota and south of Sarasota as a collection point, and then pumping up Sarasota, tying into the main sewer system that's there, and heading down through Paucus Woods, Langley Cove, and down to the boulevard. City's taking ownership of that about mile of gravity sewer from Brady Sullivan and Paucus Woods. And the building's about, I think it's 11 by 14, steel roof, synthetic shake siding, buried electrical, buried propane tank. It's a nice little building. Be there quite a long time. Yeah, so right now the project limits for sewer is basically south is to Lady of the Lakes and going all the way north to 796 White Oaks, which is the last property left before Prescott Farms. We have reached out to folks on Fillmore Street, and also there's a section of road on White Oaks, basically between the southern portion of sewer and Lady of the Lakes. Is about, I think, 9 homes there that will not be on sewer, and I was approached by them. I've been working with them, And that's what I'm calling phase 3 of the sewer extension
To
project.
put them on the sewer
To
line?
put them on the sewer. That will be less conventional, because there's a belly in between those 9 homes in the road. So you would either need one very, very large pump station like we're putting over there, which is, $400,000, or a low-pressure force main, which has been used very commonly throughout various developments in the country and even in Laconia. But we're making a few modifications to that design set. Not too many, but it'll be better, more robust, not much more expensive. So in this project, we'll be paving from Lady of the Lakes to 796, and then hopefully next spring, we'll pave the rest of the road. And before we do that, we'll put the force main in. It's basically a 3-inch force main that'll go down to the belly. We'll run services off the road, get all that done, and then work with the property owners to get on.
All right, if I could just ask, Nate,
Yes.
what's the advantage to the city taking that stretch from Brady Sullivan?
The
Taking that
advantage?
over?
There's no other way to, really. So this actually originated, 18 months ago, I would say at least, where the Lady of the Lakes development was first trying to send sewage to Guilford. There was actually a stub out along a street up there. I can't remember the name of it. And I was approached by the engineer for Lady of the Lakes, and he said, "Yeah, Guilford won't let us go that way. What should we do? How can we stay here in Laconia?" And I was like, I questioned that, and then basically while working with them to get the necessary approvals to go to Guilford, we were working on a plan B, which was how to stay in Laconia. And at that point, there's no sewer anywhere nearby, unless you go south, which is down a hill, up a hill, right? And if we went that way, you'd have one station, but you would miss out on the whole northern portion of White Oaks. And then what do, right? And there's 20 lots up there, plus a lot of potential for development. So I was like, well, in our GIS system, we have all private sewer systems there, and looking at the topography, and I was like, man, this would be really handy if we could go that way. So I first reached out to Paugus Woods to see if it was something that they were interested in, and they were like, well, it's not really our call. So I'd been working with Shane Brady directly quite a bit on this, and there's no cost to the city.
Okay, well, that's, people are gonna ask, so,
There's no cost.
okay. Okay, that's good enough. Magic words. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, well, we'll have to have a public hearing on
Nope.
this? We
Nope,
don't
it's a
have to.
governmental use, so no need for a
Look at
public
that,
hearing.
we're zipping right along. Does staff have any commentary?
No, I think he summed
We
it
don't
up
need to
pretty
vote
well.
on this, do we?
Nope.
No, okay.
Nope.
Even better.
Yep.
I thank you for coming in and explaining everything.
You bet. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Thanks, Nate.
Thanks.
Okay, now we'll go back to
7.1.
7.1, which is PB 2025-058, 1187 Weirs Boulevard. The applicant is proposing to perform a condominium subdivision of the existing RV and manufacturing housing park. Is the applicant here?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ethan Wood with Normandin, Cheney and O'Neill on behalf of Dennis Bork, the owner of that property.
Dennis couldn't make it tonight.
Dennis is out of state,
Okay, that sounds right. Okay,
so
Go ahead.
I'm a poor substitute.
oh, we got to accept this
Yeah,
one.
accept that.
Sorry about that. Make a motion to accept this application? Okay, seconded by Mike. Gary made the motion to accept. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hands. 6 in the affirmative. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Okay, continue.
Okay, so we're actually not proposing any changes on the ground whatsoever. The only change that's actually occurring is the change in the form of ownership. What Dennis is proposing is ultimately that the 17 existing lots, one of which is a year-round house above a garage, are going to be converted to condominium ownership, and it's just the land. So in other words, none of the actual structures that are getting placed on these are the units. It is just the land that is being sold. And you have a copy of the declaration and the bylaws that we've previously put together. Aside from that, it's serviced by city water, city sewer. It's on Weirs Boulevard, obviously. And with the exception of that one year-round residence, there are no structures on the property. All of the lots are set up for water and sewer, so the RVs will tie right into that, and they all have electric hookups as well.
What a thrilling proposition to own a RV lot in that location. It's,
Right up there with docks,
yeah, yeah.
You know, again,
Hey,
there,
parking space.
it works, and
there
Dennis
is a U.S. Supreme Court justice who loves RVing.
Yeah, and Dennis, I wouldn't know, and Dennis has done a good job there, so at least I've not heard any complaints from people up there, so, in the neighborhood, so it's a good thing. Okay, any questions? Anybody? Okay, public hearing. All right, thank you. We'll open this up at 5:56 for a public hearing. If there's anybody in the audience that would like to comment on this application, now's the time to do it. Gotta get that clock. All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing at 6:57. Staff?
So, for the findings of fact, we have the application and site plans are complete and consistent with state and city land use regulations. The application and site plans were reviewed by the Technical Review Committee at its May 20th, 2025 meeting. Their comments have been incorporated in the recommended conditions of approval, which are plan revisions. Plans must be revised and submitted to the Planning Department to include the following: updated dimensional requirements to reflect commercial use of the property, a condominium plan depicting just the single-family home with all other sites depicted as vacant. A note must be added confirming it is the only unit permitted to be used year-round, while all other units are only permitted for seasonal use. The correct map lot and unit number and contact information for parcel 162-248-18 needs to be listed. The correct map block lot unit number for parcel 163-248-12 needs to be listed. And the correct contact information for 172-241-1 needs to be listed. The applicant must possess all required permits and approvals granted by federal, state, municipal boards or agencies. All permits and approvals must be in place prior to the signing and recording of the final plans in Mylar. Should any permit or approval be revoked at any time during the project, all work must cease until a new permit or approval is obtained. Copies of all permits and approvals must be provided by the applicant to the Planning Department. Condominium documents must be submitted to the Planning Department for review and approval. These documents must be recorded at the Belknap County Register of Deeds at the applicant's expense. 4 final plan sets must be submitted to, reviewed, and approved by the Planning Department. The addresses for all units must be assigned by the Department of Public Works to ensure compliance with RSA 231, 133, and 133-A. Private trash and recycling services are required. All receptacles must be screened from view on at least 3 sides. The required number of parking spaces must be delineated by paint, sign, or other method as approved by the Planning Department. Snow storage and/or removal must be provided by the owner so drainage structures can function properly and required parking spaces can be utilized. All units except the existing single-family home are permitted for seasonal use only. No unit except this existing single-family home shall be occupied from November 1st through April 30th of the subsequent year. Any seasonal unit may be converted to year-round use only through subsequent approval from the Planning Board. Any unit proposed to convert to year-round use must meet all requirements and regulations in force at that time. Impact fees will be assessed at the time of conversion to year-round use. And finally, the project and all associated conditions must be completed by no later than June 3rd, 2030. If all conditions are not met, nor any extension application filed with the Laconia Planning Department by the completion date, this approval will be null and void.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler?
Anytime.
Any last comments? Entertain a motion.
Move to accept application PB 2025-058 for 1187 Weirs Boulevard as complete.
Okay, second?
What, second one,
Oh,
motion 2.
Motion to, sorry.
sorry.
I move to approve application PB 2025-058 for 1187 Weirs Boulevard with the findings of fact and as presented by staff in the staff report.
Thank you.
I second that.
Seconded, okay. Any more discussion? Okay, I'll entertain a vote. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, six in the affirmative. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the board. We appreciate your time tonight.
Okay. Now we're gonna move along to 7.3. Strike that. Sorry.
7.2.
Yeah, I'm looking for my sheet. You got it right there. Thanks. Thank you. I get too organized here. 7.2, PB 2025-061563 Weirs Boulevard. The applicant is proposing to amend their site plan as it relates to the previous approved clubhouse and amenities. And we have a familiar face walking to the podium.
Good evening, John Roque with Roque Consulting. I'm here on behalf of Langley Cove this
No,
evening.
we got to accept
Oh,
it.
you haven't accepted yet.
John, I was so busy watching you that I'll take a
wait.
motion to accept this application.
So said.
Gary did it and Mike seconded it. All in favor, please raise your hands. Okay, it's been done unanimously. Thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening. So we're here this evening to basically get an approval to amend our clubhouse. And fortunately, it's going from a very small clubhouse to a much nicer clubhouse. So now that the project is kind of coming together and taking shape, one of the decisions by Brady Sullivan was to upgrade the clubhouse to one that they had done in another development. So the shape is a little bit different, the style is a little bit different, but it's actually all better in every respect. So we're happy to be here to discuss anything that you want with us, with what we're looking for doing.
So there's another development close by. We can go and look at that one and know what this is going to look like, besides the design here.
I could get pictures of it.
Okay, I didn't know if it was close by or not.
I think it's out by the seacoast. So,
Okay.
but if everything goes well with you guys looking at this evening, we're looking at pouring the foundation. We did our building permit quite a while ago on this, so we'd be looking at pouring foundations within like another week and a half on this building. So
Okay. That it?
that's it.
Okay.
It's
Thank you. We'll open up a public hearing at 7:02. If there's anybody here in the public that would like to comment on this application in any way, shape, or form, come on up. Nobody else? Okay, it's 7:03. We'll close the public comments. Thank you. I have a question there. That it was probably in the last go-around here with the plans and everything. How's the whole project taking rain up there? All this rain we've been having. We've been getting some serious rain. Everything going well with that?
No, I think it is. We're trying to finalize the bottom ponds right now. I've been up there quite a few different times. Busby's been working on it, and they have a certified stormwater inspector that's out there all the time with them. And I think there's third-party reviews going on with the city inspectors also. And I
And
think
that big retaining pond right there.
yeah, there's a couple of them down in front, but just to
They're
handle
huge.
it. Yeah.
You're huge, which makes me think they
Yep.
a lot of water.
Yep. No, that's been going good. We've also had some meetings with the people that are looking at they're getting ready to start with the bridge construction. They wanted an easement for some of the stuff they're doing for construction on that, and we worked that out with them, so. We're getting the bridge reconstruction all set up for, I believe, 2026, they're gonna start on it, from what I understand, so. So Weirs Boulevard will really get ripped up when they do that, bridge, but that's a state of New Hampshire project.
Our conservation technician has also been out there every week walking the site with Busby, making
So
sure.
like after the hard rain we had on Saturday, which was a very hard rain,
They also submit SWIP reports to us, and that's reviewed by Nate Jarrett, who was here earlier, their city engineer, and our conservation person.
so.
And
but-
I know the state of New Hampshire, alteration of terrain department has been reviewing, like, they all get sent automatically to the alteration of terrain department, and they've been reviewing everything every week also, so.
Each time there's a rain event with so much precipitation, a SWIP is generated, and that's sent out to all these agencies so that everybody can review to make
You
sure
know
that.
do you know how much rain is, like an inch or a half
It
inch?
used to be half an inch.
Half an inch, yep. Anything over a half an inch, automatically, you have to do an intermediate report, but it's a weekly report no matter what,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, I mean, the rain events lately have been,
We have had
Just phenomenal.
significant rainfall in the city, so.
recently, unfortunately, but okay.
I know Paul Busby is looking forward to kind of getting some of this stuff finalized down in the front, but once that's all done and stabilized, everything is, a lot of the other stuff is not necessarily as critical, like it's not right next to the lake. There's a lot of area that is just within our own property, next to some of the future ponds, so.
So God forbid something happens, we have a 8-inch rainstorm, which I can't remember how much we got when that one
Yep.
up at the Weirs, it took out half
Oh,
the
yeah.
boardwalk and everything.
Yep.
If we had something like that there, and again, God forbid, and there was a major flood up there and stuff all of a sudden is coming down, who's responsible for that? Is that considered an act of God? Is that something that, geez, we're gonna have to mitigate this and we're gonna be responsible for any damages or anything like that? How does that work out? Because people have asked me that.
Are you talking about a rain event to the extent of a natural hazard of like a landslide?
A landslide or just a lot of debris coming down from the, again, I refer back to the one we had at the Weirs, which was an isolated thunderstorm. And, everybody, I mean, I wasn't even in town, I heard about it out west, but that's, it came down Tower Street, went right across the road. And I think the gully that was put in Lakeside Avenue it exposed,
The railroad tracks were hanging.
yeah, the railroad tracks were hanging and it exposed the clay sewer pipes underneath there, which are quite a ways down. So if something
Yep.
like that, again, God forbid, was to happen, and we had a major disaster up there, how's that handled? Any idea?
Start cleaning it up. It isn't gonna be just this site. If you have
Well,
an
no,
8-inch event, you're gonna be, the
I-
entire town's gonna be cleaning up. So
yeah.
everybody would start working on their own projects.
When they
cleaning
had
up.
that one at the Weirs, it wasn't
Yep.
downtown. It
Yep.
was isolated right to
Yep.
that area, which is amazing. So I'm just curious.
I'd be more worried about the beavers. Remember
Okay, never mind, next stop.
No,
I
no,
don't
no,
wanna
no,
worry-
seriously.
no,
The worst thing that's ever happened at Langley Cove was the beaver dam broke
Okay,
up
but-
by Prescott Farms, and
All
it
right,
wiped
either-
out all of the brook.
All right, either way, I just want to make sure that,
So-
because this is a unique project up there. We had a hill, a side, steep slope, that was full of trees.
No, it had a trailer park on it.
No, I'm talking above there, and where it's coming down now. I just
Yep.
want to make sure,
Yep.
to the eye, to the common eye, it looks very different.
Yep.
So.
Oh,
I-
yes, absolutely,
So
yes.
I'm just asking these questions because we want to make sure.
So for the event of a scope that you're talking about, the city is currently rewriting its hazard mitigation plan in conjunction with FEMA and the state of New Hampshire. And Lakes Region Planning Commission is actually the one that's been contracted out to complete that study in the rewrite. In an event like that, that would fall back to that plan, and there's a whole emergency action checklist that would happen, and the fire chief would take responsibility, and he would kind of govern how everything would fall back out.
Okay.
But it would be cleaned up.
All right, well, the way things are going, I just,
We are rewriting that hazard mitigation plan right now. It's a requirement that the federal requirement to do that every 5 years, and the city's working on that.
Any other
currently.
questions for anybody? Staff?
All right, so for the findings of fact, the application and site plans are complete and consistent with state and city land use regulations. The application and site plans were reviewed by the Technical Review Committee at its May 20th, 2025 meeting. Their comments have been incorporated in the recommended conditions of approval. For pre-construction requirements, all conditions in this section must be completed at least 2 weeks prior to commencing any work on site. Plans must be revised and submitted to the planning department to include the following: the square footage of the previously approved clubhouse and the square footage of the proposed clubhouse. The applicant must possess all required permits and approvals granted by federal, state, municipal boards or agencies. All permits and approvals must be in place prior to the signing and recording of the final plans in Mylar. Should any permit or approval be revoked at any time during the project, all work must cease until a new permit or approval is obtained. Copies of all permits and approvals must be provided by the applicant to the planning department. 4 final plan sets must be submitted to, reviewed, and approved by the planning department. Erosion controls must be in place and inspected and approved by the planning department. The planning department will perform regular inspections to ensure erosion controls are installed and maintained correctly. The address for the proposed clubhouse must be assigned by the by the Department of Public Works and comply with RSA 231:133 and 133-A. For construction requirements, all conditions in this section must be met during the construction of the project. All construction specifications for municipal water service as required by the water department apply, and the applicant must adhere to all specifications as required by the Laconia Fire Department. For post-construction requirements, all conditions in this section must be met prior to the issuance of any certificate of occupancy. Impact fees in the amount of $1.49 per additional square foot of floor space from the previously approved structure must be paid to the planning department. In accordance with RSA 674:39, the applicant is exempt from any changes to impact fee rates for 5 years from the approval date. Should the project not be completed during the exemption period, the applicant must pay any and all increases to impact fees regardless of vestment status. An as-built design application and fee for the clubhouse must be submitted to the planning department for review and approval. All other conditions from all prior planning board approvals, which are not altered by this approval, shall remain in effect. And the completion date, the project and all associated conditions must be completed by no later than June 30th, 2030. If all conditions are not met, nor any extension application filed with the Laconia Planning Department by the completion date, this approval will be null and void. A lot of
Okay.
practice.
Any questions of staff or anybody? Okay, I'll look for a motion on this application.
I move to approve application PB 2025-064 for 563 Weirs Boulevard with the findings of fact and conditions of approval as presented in the staff report.
There a second? Michael is seconded, thank you. Any more discussion? It's been a big, long project, as I remember. And I just, you're the guy that I look to for everything here, nobody else, well, besides the staff, of course, to make sure that,
Yep.
because you've got a reputation, and a good reputation, as does your company, so we want to make sure that everybody's happy as much as possible.
Nope, it's amazing seeing it happen. I mean, it's been a long process. I've been working on it since 2004. All the way back to when I was working at Holden. I started this project when they first bought the trailer park. And it's incredible to see it actually. And I've been looking at the paper plans for 20 years, and seeing it actually out there is pretty amazing.
And don't we have sidewalks going in along that stretch from this project, or is that not? We
Yep.
do, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And when do you expect those to be put in?
That's gonna be probably in 2026 when the bridge stuff, I mean, everything's gonna
Yeah.
be ripped up.
Okay.
And as soon as all that stuff is kinda cleaned up and done, then everything should be,
They're putting in a bike lane. Is there a bike lane?
Well, I don't.
I don't know.
I can't remember.
Because there's not really much.
There's not much
space
room
to-
there. I just couldn't remember.
our entire frontage of the 553 and the other, it's all gonna have sidewalk. I mean, it's not all that long a frontage compared
No.
to the whole project,
But
but it'll all have sidewalk, yes.
All adds up.
Yep,
All right, well, thank you.
thank you very much.
So, do we vote on this? No, we have to vote. No, I'm thanking him on discussion. Okay, all in favor, please raise your hands. It's 6 in the affirmative. Thank you very much.
Thank
Again,
you.
Thank you. Okay, we go to 7.4 PB 2025-067. 35-71, Winnisquam Ave. The applicant is proposing to extend their current completion date of May 30th, 2025. Wow, that was last week, to December 30th, 2027. We need to accept this. We don't have to accept it.
Nope, if you just
You know,
hold on for 1 second.
okay, go ahead.
So we misnoticed this application. So we need to continue it until next month so we can renotice it to meet the legal requirement.
No wonder there's a large crowd here for it. Okay. All right, so we need to have a motion to
Continue it till next
continue
month.
this application. I'll look for somebody to forward that. Gary?
I move we continue it to the July meeting.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, Rich is seconding it. Any discussion? I'll say something. That project has got a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff. That's all I have to say. All in favor, please raise your hands. Okay, 6 in the affirmative. Thank you very much. Okay, we now go down to the planning presentations. Any presentations?
Could I make a request of the board? We have an agenda item 11, citizen comments for matters not on the agenda. Could we move that up prior to giving the report? Just because I think there might be somebody here that wishes to give feedback.
I will so entertain a motion to move that 11 up. Do we need a?
You don't need a motion.
All right, we'll just do it.
Executive action.
Yeah.
Executive
There you
action.
go.
Just movie name that. Okay, so we'll go to 11. Is there anybody here, any citizens have comments not, for matters not on the agenda? I should have known that's why you were hanging around. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ethan Wood, Normandan, Cheney, and O'Neill. I come here tonight, other than for my client, on as a result of some prior input we received not only from this board, but also from the mayor with regard to affordable housing and workforce housing in the city. And I have specifically identified a section of your ordinance that I would strongly encourage the board to consider amending and to make it subject to innovative land use controls so that you can have some more flexibility specifically with the density calculations. And that would be section 235-21, which is the Housing Redevelopment Overlay District. I'm unable to find any application that's been submitted under that in recent years. And so I think part of that is because it was adopted back in the 1990s prior to the adoption of RSA 674-21, which is the innovative land use controls. And I think if the board were to make some modifications to this specific section, it may encourage additional affordable housing and workforce housing in the areas of the overlay district, which are already areas which would be ripe for this. I know from discussions with a client that there is certainly the possibility of additional workforce housing in this overlay district if there was more flexibility that this board had with regard to applications. And I think certainly adopting it as an innovative land use control would be a long way toward that. And then there are some additional tweaks to the language that may be beneficial as well, and I'm happy to work with Rob on that.
Is that something that would have eventually have to be approved by the council?
It would have to go to city council, and I will be very upfront with the board. So we adopted this housing redevelopment overlay district in the area of town just over here where it is most dense. It was from Winter Street all the way down to, let me pull up a map here. And since '95, nobody has ever utilized the housing redevelopment overlay district. Probably because it's not written very well. And it doesn't really, there's no incentive to redevelop within that district with that ordinance. It's just not very useful. So I agree with everything Councilor Wood said.
So we can look forward to you working on this?
So if that is something the board would like me to work on,
Sounds like a good idea if you're saying
I
it's
mean,
not
these
written very well.
are areas that have traditionally been workforce housing, even though we don't have any adopted definition of workforce housing. And providing an incentive for people to redevelop some of these older lots to revitalize neighborhoods, such as just across the street over here, that would be beneficial. If that's something that council and the planning board is interested in doing, it's a very limited area that is in the housing overlay district. And we can provide a map and send that out if the board so chooses.
Sounds good to me. I think anything we can do along those lines. I thank you, Ethan, for bringing this to the attention here, and I'm sure the council will, I hate speaking for the city council, but I'm sure they'll look forward to seeing what improvements can be forwarded to them through us here.
I certainly appreciate that, Mr. Chair. I would note that any changes to this ordinance have to come through this board first, so you'll have an
I know
opportunity
that,
to weigh in.
And that will undoubtedly get Councilor Susie's attention, and, but he'll be right there to make sure it's all done right, so that's good.
I think the council will look favorably upon
Yeah.
the change. I really do.
Okay. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any, but generally speaking. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else on matters not on the agenda? Okay, now we'll go back up to, do we have any other presentations?
Nope.
Do we have any? Okay.
So
So we'll go to the planning department report now.
So Conservation is finalizing their request for proposal for a natural resource inventory. And the last time it was done was in 2022. They're able to use conservation funds for that. So those are funds that are taken from properties that are coming out of current use. And they're paying the additional tax, and it gets put into a percentage of it gets put into a certain account, up to a maximum amount of I believe it's $250,000.
I think it's 250.
That's allowed to be carried over. It's been maxed out for a number of years. And Conservation is looking to utilize perhaps 30,000 of that to do a natural resource inventory, which is kind of great timing so that, you know, as we start transitioning towards the master plan this year, that, you know, that can be something that can be incorporated into a natural resources chapter. So it's kind of very good timing for that. We did a couple of administrative reviews this month. We did do 2 minor site plan applications at the technical review committee. I don't know if they started today or they're starting tomorrow, but we contracted out for all the streetscape to be done, all the landscaping to be done downtown. That's Belknap Landscaping. They were awarded the contract, so they should be doing that. So we're looking forward to that. We're going back to, the TIF is going back to City Council this next meeting to ask for an additional, I think, $27,000 for lights for Canal Street and for Pumpkin Fest, and for some money to go out for our electrical contractor to do some GFI outlets on some of the light poles so that we can plug into them.
On Main Street.
On Main Street, yep. And then our bid came in for the landscaping project at $84,000. We only had $75,000 available left for the project. So the downtown TIF requested that we go back to see if we could get the remaining funds to finish the streetscape project. But it really should be great. They're gonna tie in everything. It's gonna be a singular contractor going through, maintaining that, and it helps parks out. They're gonna be taking care of a lot of there's some poison ivy downtown. They're gonna be removing that over here at Stewart Park. There are also, Parks had some concerns about those types of plantings that were gonna be out there to kind of prohibit the hiding of some artifacts in parks. So Belknap Landscaping has obliged to that and are looking to find some bushes that are helpful to parks. I'll put in there for our master plan, we have requested $100,000. It looks like that is going to make the budget. We do need to appoint one more member to the master plan steering committee. Charlie, that is your power to appoint an additional member of whoever you choose.
Do they have the right to refuse?
No. And the city manager also has 2 picks. He said he should have his 2 picks for me in the next couple weeks. He's looking to a couple people.
So just remind me of the meetings.
So
How
we have
often?
not scheduled any meetings yet. with that, if city council approves $100,000 for a master plan, we have an RFP that will be ready to go out the next day for a proposal. So we are ready for it, and we would like to,
So right now, we have who on the master plan?
Counselor Hoffman?
Councilor Hoffman and,
Am I still on?
Yes.
yeah. You sent me an email, we got you reappointed.
So we got,
Oh,
so
I
I got
did.
Gary and Councilor Hoffman, anybody else?
That is it. Of course, I'm also on there because we wrote that into the rules and procedures that the planning board, the planning director is.
Didn't I say I was gonna be on it or no?
Did you,
I
you
thought
can
I
appoint
did.
yourself to it, then that would be your,
Unless somebody else here is, well, that's why I asked about the meetings. Can we have an alternate if I can't make it?
yeah, you can appoint
So
somebody to act
why
as
don't,
an
is there somebody else who wants to tag team this with me? Okay,
I do.
all right. So there you have your two names.
And with that, just so everybody's aware, we are going to have a meeting with council, zoning board, and planning board, specifically those three boards, when we have the contractor and we start this process, to make sure that collectively, as all of our land use boards and council are all on the same page with formulating our direction and vision moving forward. We're also going to have public input sessions and a number of, or to be determined as planning charrettes, to make sure that we have a thorough, well-thought-out master plan. So we're doing a full plan here with full transparency and lots of public input, the way a master plan should be done. Did I say something wrong?
In those meetings.
loves charrettes.
Yeah, Charlie, yeah, he loves them.
Well, we're already gonna cancel that. So are these meetings gonna be held in this room? Are they gonna be held?
So,
in some other room,
it
or-
might be, when we're looking for public input, there might be larger venues that we need, that might be more, superior in allowing, some wider spread collaboration and developing a vision statement and, working with the contractor and for the public to kind of have their take on it. So there might be an opportunity at like, the schools or, the community center. So it's really up in the air, and that's really as we get closer, but we'll make sure we notice the paper, we'll make sure we notice, just like any other public hearing. But we're very much looking forward to that, and we hope to have some great public input.
I hope you consider doing one in each council district.
I think that's very much a possibility.
It's a good idea.
We're looking, we want the maximum input we can get, and
Understand?
Laconia is just not one size fits all. There's a lot of different elements to Laconia, and make sure all these elements fit together. So we'll absolutely do that. We have our impact review study that's being done right now. They're contracted to end at the end of this month. We had to wait for a couple of departments for some additional information, so that kind of put them behind the power curve. So right now, we're working on extending their contract out till October 31st. So we can expect to see that in the next coming months as a presentation to planning board, and then planning board will hopefully ultimately choose to adopt that, and then that would move it forward to city council. There should be, in their final presentation, several scenarios that we can choose from about how we want to proceed with impact fees. So we'll see that in the next coming months. Let's see. Oh, I also spoke to the city manager. We had a line item in our budget for contracts. We requested a contract for a rewrite of our site plan and subdivision regulations. We unfortunately got no bidders at our low price point. With that, I did have a meeting with Glenn from Finance and with Kirk. We are going to attempt to roll over that money. Should the budget support rolling over that $15,000, that would give us $30,000 to do that. So hopefully next year we'll be able to contract that out, which would be quite fortuitous with a brand new master plan to have a brand new site plan and subdivision regulation to match that. And we'd actually be able to address construction stormwater management.
So your expectation is the master plan will be complete sometime in mid-2026?
I would hope so. I think we've talked to a couple of people, and we expect it to probably take a minimum of 9 months, so somewhere between 9 to 12 months for completion. So if we go out to bid in, say, July, maybe by July of this next year, we could be complete.
Good.
Hopefully. But, you know,
Ambitious schedule.
it's
that's good.
that is very ambitious. That is very, very ambitious.
It's okay, it's a starting point.
But something is better than nothing. And getting that public input is very, very important to me.
Okay. Do we have any TRC draft minutes?
Oh, that's just for gee whiz information if you guys want to take a look at it. We just add that just so that there's, you can see what we do behind the scenes before applications get here. The review process that it goes through and comments from other departments. So that's just for you to see that we
Are doing something.
are doing something.
Okay, yep.
Full
go ahead,
transparency.
Yeah.
Counselor.
I noticed your comment about the TIF, meeting with the Weirs TIF, and their desire to build a bandstand. It's come to my attention that the people who have the old railroad station have considered putting or rebuilding the grandstand on the roof. So I'd ask you to keep that in mind,
So-
rather than spend city money for a new, or TIF money for a new boardwalk bandstand. Personally, I think up there means more people can see it, so.
I did forget to say that. So we did have a meeting with them, and we did discuss that, and then it was brought back up by Councilor Felch at the downtown TIF the other day. I think you were there.
I was.
And Warren Clement was also there. We kind of talked about it. So that was discussed about putting it on top there. So I think that there's further discussion to be had on it. When I spoke to Wes, Public Works Director, he was a little bit concerned about the boardwalk itself, and that maybe before we start doing or looking at a bandstand, we should do a structural analysis of the boardwalk to make sure it'll support the additional weight. So I just haven't brought that back to the TIF yet.
I had spoken to Counselor Felch, and we had discussed it, and both of us expressed some concern about building something on the boardwalk when we probably have an opportunity to build, and maybe not at our expense.
100%, yep.
Yeah. That's where more money for planning would come from.
I always love more money for planning.
I-
Yep, so that's what I've got.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
I think that hit all on.
All right, we'll go to liaison reports. Anything from the city council?
No.
Okay, Lakes Region Planning Commission?
Our annual meeting is coming up.
On.
The date is escaping me. I believe it's June 23rd, right?
That was right.
I think it's June 23rd.
Okay.
Did you send your application in?
I did not send in my application. I still have to do that.
What? I thought
I
you were
know,
talking
I
about
got-
that the other day.
I was, and it
man.
slipped my mind. So I said I got to do it when I talk about it.
You're not gonna get the voucher for that now.
Okay.
Darn.
All
That's
right.
about it, really.
All right, about Conservation Commission. Anybody hear from that?
I'll tell you, I believe Conservation Commission is looking to update or create a checklist for us possibly to incorporate into any new site plan subdivision regulations that we may adopt, for a developer to have a checklist about when they impact wetland buffers, about things that the conservation is specifically looking for, such as erosion control types, and whether they want a double silt sock or other types like that. So I think they've been working on that, and that might come before you at some point in the near future.
Okay, that sounds good. We have nothing for the Historical District Commission at this time.
Do you want to set a date at some point to?
Yeah, just call me
Okay.
in a week. And then, any other business? All right. Well, I just want to say that, I do want to say that, again, that I think the planning board, you know, we really are the eyes and ears for the city, for the residents of the city on all these projects. And I think we've been doing a good job, and I think you've all been doing a good job. So I just want to, I know there's been some questions floating around out there, but we do what we have in front of us, and we do it within the rules and regulations that are set by the council and other entities, so I think everybody's doing a good job. Okay, I'll look for a motion to adjourn at 7:34.
So moved.
Second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you all very much, and we'll see you on July 1st.
Almost will be able to charge
all
your
our
phones
viewers
now.
at home.
All the light bulbs.
I don't know.
And
Ask-
subscribe.
ask these guys.
Subscribe.
The- You know, the